Hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Living with a Stoma. So my name is Dr. Elvis Sanji. I'm a doctor here at Horizon Healthcare, and I'm joined here with Terence.
Yes.
And he's a patient with a stoma who we're going to hear about his story living with a stoma day to day, and we'll hopefully be able to give you some helpful tips and tricks that make day-to-day living with a stoma easier. So thank you very much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
So we'll start with basically just going over what a stoma is. And for any listeners who's new to this, a stoma is basically an opening on the tummy that allows waste to leave the body when pumps of bowel or bladder isn't working the usual way. This is always done through surgery, and the word stoma itself actually means mouth or opening, and can be made temporary or permanent depending on the type of surgery you have and why you had it. And we'll talk about the three main types of stomas, so we'll talk through all three of them. So the most common one is colostomy, and that connects the large bowel to the surface of the abdomen. And usually from the colostomy, it produces a formed or soft stool, and it's mainly in the left side of your tummy. Then the next one, which I believe you have, is an ileostomy.
That's right, yes.
So that connects a small bowel to the surface of the abdomen. And from that is normally a liquid, or people say porridge-like consistency of the stool. And the final one is a urostomy. And this is made from small intestine and used to direct urine, or divert urine if the bladder is removed or you have to bypass the bladder. So visibly looking at the stoma, it's quite similar to the inside of your mouth.
What's my face?
Very pink, exactly. So it's a small, round, pinkish red opening on your tummy, and that pinkish red is the inside lining of bowel, and that's why it looks moist. It might be, sometimes it's level, flat with the skin, and sometimes it can be raised. And the stoma itself doesn't have any nerve endings, so you don't feel any pain from it.
That's right.
But the surrounding skin still does, so that's why skincare is important when you're living with a stoma. Now, since you can't control when the discharges occur from the stoma, you have a bag attached to the stoma that you can empty or change as needed. A lot of people worry about how it will look, smell, or especially at first how they will get used to it. But with time, people find that they get into a routine that works for them. So now that we've discussed about these stomas, what a stoma is, I'm just going to quickly go over why people might have stomas, and then hopefully we can transition into your experience.
Okay.
Stomas can be for anyone. They can be for all ages, men, women, even children can have stomas. And it's used as a treatment for many different conditions. So it can be for bowel or bladder cancer, inflammatory bowel diseases like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, chronic constipation, and trauma that damages the bowel, or even certain conditions in newborns. Some, as we mentioned, some stomas are permanent, but others are temporary and are reversed once the bowel or bladder has been healed. Every person's journey is different with a stoma, both in terms of why the stoma was needed and how they adjust. And this nicely brings us towards our patient story. So, Terence, could you tell us a bit about your journey and what led to you having a stoma and how you've managed since then?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I was admitted in May of last year, or Leicester one in February, on an emergency basis because I had a hernia which suddenly strangulated. It requires immediate medical attention. And I was taken, and so I was operated on the same day. But unfortunately, I crashed on the table and I had to be returned to the intensive care unit for several days and put onto life support until my condition stabilised. And I was then taken back to surgery about 3 or 4 days later, and the surgeon completed the operation, and I have a laparoscopy. I was on ITU for about a fortnight, but for quite a bit. When I first came out of surgery, I was kept on life support, and it took, for whatever reason, it took several days for me to be able to breathe again without. Anyway, when I came around, as I say, I was on ITU for quite a long time, for a fortnight, and then I was moved from ITU onto Ward 22, which is a general surgical ward, where I first met the stoma care team, nurse team, and they explained to me what sort of stoma I had and showed me how to deal with, how to change my bag, how to look after it. And they came to see me most days and helped me gradually to actually deal with changing my stoma, because it is quite daunting at first. You look at it on it and you've got this thing sticking out. Although it has no nerve endings in it, you think you're going to hurt, it's going to hurt if you touch it, but it doesn't. So each day they would come and they would, first of all, they would change it for me and clean it, and then and gradually I learned how to do it myself. And once you come out of hospital, the stoma care team of like, they visit. After something, 6 weeks when you come out of hospital, they come and they visit you at home for their first visit. They check if you change your bag, they check how you are, etc., etc. If there's any issues in between time, you have a number which you can contact them on, and they will get back to you by phone, and if necessary, come and see you again. But they make 3 visits after you come out of hospital initially, just to check that everything is okay. And then after the 3rd visit, they never discharge you. After the 3rd visit, they're always there on the telephone. But then, to my great surprise, in the summer, almost a year to the day when I had my operation, I was contacted. It was just by the stoma care team to see how I was doing and ask all sorts of questions about things. It was like a sign-off, if you like. But they did emphasise that you're never discharged from their care. And even though I had this signing off session with them, that if at any point I need to contact them, I can do. And they do hold clinics at various places across the city. So if something can't be sorted out over the phone, that they will probably make you an appointment at one of their clinics, and you can go and sort stuff out face to face.
Brilliant. So it sounds like you're very well supported.
Very supportive.
If you were to say that if there was one particular challenge that you found difficult early on, is there any?
The way your body functions has changed.
Absolutely.
And just the thought of having this band, for want of a better term, on your side, into which waste matter goes.
Yes.
It just takes. It takes some getting your head around at first. It isn't uncomfortable.
Okay.
It isn't uncomfortable, but it's just the thought that for years you've been going to the one way, and suddenly you don't. And the thought of having that waste product on your tummy, and that people will be, you did mention that you think that people will be able to see it, be able to smell it. And because you do have this, it does affect the sort of clothing you can. And changing it, it's for some people, it's not an enlivening experience.
No, I can imagine. I was doing some research, and people have found that emptying can be problematic.
It can.
And one of the issues people have is when you do empty it, especially if it's a colostomy and it's the splashback sometimes you get from.
Well, that you say without you going, yes, that is one of that. I say mine as an hospice, but that is one of the issues. If you simply stand over the loo, you get splashback. So for a male, if you sit on the loo batters, so you're facing the seat, or you're back to the seat, you're right, then you could and that, so you get those splashback.
Okay, I've not heard that one.
Yeah.
I read that you can get toilet rolls and you can place it in a little bit of toilet roll and place it in the toilet.
Yeah, I mean,
the water, and then that will soften.
Sometimes you can actually kneel inside of the loo.
Right. So there's a decrease in height.
Yeah, it is. But that, as I say, but that I felt the sort of sitting on the loo backwards, right? And there's the only way I can describe it is a good way of doing it.
So thank you for sharing that with us, Terence. We're going to now just move on to some practical tips, and we'll see how, if you had any issues or if you can provide anything further when you've been living with a stoma. A lot of these come from what we've seen in practice and from advice by the Colostomy UK and stoma nurses. So the first thing we'll look to do and discuss is routine. So you want to make sure that you try and check and change your bag around the same time each day. Ideally when your stoma is least active, and that's usually first thing in the morning or before meals. Most people change their bag every 1 to 3 days, depending on the type of stoma and the bag they use. Make sure you always wash your hands before and after changing, and take your time. It becomes second nature with practice, but you want to make sure you take your time initially. The next thing is skincare, and that's really important because you want to make sure that the skin around the stoma is healthy. When you are taking the stoma off, use warm water only. Don't use soaps, especially if the soaps have perfume or oil in it, as these can cause irritation to the skin. And after washing, make sure you gently pat the skin dry before putting on a new bag. If you ever notice any redness or itching or broken skin, you need to make sure that you let your stoma nurse know. Don't try to treat it yourself. It's always best to get on top of it and get it reviewed by a specialist. Okay, so let's move on to leaks. Now, this could be something that a lot of people have problems with. Most of the time, leaks are due to an ill-fitting bag, so it doesn't fit properly, and your stoma can change in size the first few weeks, so it's worth having it remeasured by the nursing team. You can get products like barrier rings or seals to help with reducing leaks and protecting the skin. But if you ever find that if your stoma bag is feeling loose or it's ballooning, then it's best to change it sooner rather than later. Let's now talk about clothing and comfort. You did touch on that. You said it was difficult with tucking in your shirt and thinking about what you're going to wear.
That's right.
But people find that you can wear most of your normal clothes.
Yes, you can.
Just you want to avoid very tight fitting clothes, like
you do.
What tucking in.
And also if you clothes that you can get up and down easily.
Sure. Because then especially if you want to empty your stoma.
That's right. Particularly, one thing you do learn with having a stoma, you get a very intimate knowledge of public rules.
And heard different elevations of
which you may or may not have heard prior to get your stoma. Not what you find at one, all of them are not very salubrious. So you really don't want to be in there any longer than necessary. So my suggestion is, if you're going out for the day somewhere, you always take a bag with you which has got your stoma supplies in, but have clothes you can get up and down easily while you're so you can be in and out of the toilet relatively quickly. I have to say, I have a Radicki.
Oh, what? Sorry.
Radicki. You can use them for
a full public toilet.
And you can also use them. I always use a disabled loo, quite similar if I can. Quite similar because there's more space in there.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also, and if people haven't got this, I got one you can get these from the stoma care nurses. It's a small card which says this person has a medical condition and needs to use the loo.
Thanks for that. So we'll move on to confidence and relationships now. So this is the last section we'll talk about, and this is such an important part of recovery. It's worth remembering that when someone has a stoma surgery, it's usually because they've been very unwell for quite some time. For you, it was an emergency, so you didn't have any time for preparation. And it's a major surgery, and like you said, it changes the way your body works, and it's something that you're not used to. Afterwards, I think it's completely normal to feel emotionally overwhelmed, and it can take time to adjust, and that time to adjust is different for everyone. Some people find their confidence quite quickly, for others it can take a bit longer, and that's perfectly okay. So finally, just before we go, I just want to inform you of the main thing of knowing when to seek help. Now, this is very important because if you don't know when to seek help, then things can get worse, and you want to make sure you do notice these things early on. So if you notice pain, swelling, or changes to your stoma color, especially if it looks pale or dark or black, then you need to speak with your stoma nurse, the doctor, straight away. If your stoma suddenly stops working or you start feeling sick with tummy pain and your tummy swelling, then you need to go straight to A&E. And thank you again, Terence, for being with me today and speaking with the listeners.
I hope it's been useful.
It's been inspiring and has been very helpful in understanding how you lived with your stoma and how you dealt with issues you've had, and you've clearly discussed lots of different things. So thank you so much for that. And thank you to the listeners who've stayed on. And remember that it's completely normal to have ups and downs with your stoma, especially early on. If you ever feel that you need help, make sure you reach out to your stoma nurse and GP or local support group that will hopefully set up. Just remember that you're not alone in the journey together. With the right support, information and patience, living confidently with your stoma is absolutely possible. Thanks for tuning into this podcast and take care, and we'll see you next time.